today's video, we're going to continue setting up our Ansible Lab environment. We're going to create two playbooks. The first playbook will create the Superuser account and ensure it's in the correct admins group. In the second playbook, we're going to deploy that Superuser account's SSH key. Let's get started. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is create a playbook. So we're going to use the vim command, and we're going to call it create. You can call this whatever you want to. I'm just going to call it create user add to group.yaml. Yeah, it's kind of long, but I like to have long names because I know what the playbook does. Okay, so just like with any playbook, starts out with, since it's a .yaml file, 3 dashes at the top. We need to name our play. We're going to call this create super user account on all nodes. Hosts, we're going to say all. Gather facts. By default, it's always true. We're going to change it to false. And then we're going to do roles, or sorry, go back up here. I'm getting ahead of myself. We're going to do what's called vars prompt and we're going to do name. We're going to do name. We're going to call it user password. Now this name is the name of the variable. Don't let that confuse you with the name of each task. Then we're going to do prompt, and we'll say something like enter the value for the we'll say user account password, and then private yes. Now we want the private yes because we don't want to show our password on screen since we're trying to keep it secret, right? Okay. Next, we're going to do a roles option here, a dash, create, user, add to group. Now, this is reference a role that we have not created yet, and we are about to do so. All right, so everything looks good. We're going to save it. Now, we did create a roles directory when we went over collections on last episode. If you haven't done that, go ahead and do that now. When I go to the roles directory, as you can see, it's blank. We're going to use a command to create our default layout for our roles. So we're going to use Ansible-galaxy, Ansible-galaxy, role init, so create role basically. And then we're going to name it what we referred to as in the playbook. So create user add to group. Wow. There we go. Create user add to group. All right. And when we do this, it'll take a little bit of time. It creates the role. As you can see, it created a directory called what we wanted it to. And when we go to that directory, you'll see that it created several directories for us: files, templates, defaults, handlers, meta, tasks, tests, and vars. Now we're not going to use all this, so we're going to do some cleanup. So we're going to remove the vars, tests, handlers, templates, and files. Let's make sure that looks correct. You can keep meta in there. We're not going to use it for right now. Meta is used for when you're trying to reference that role or use that role in another project. I don't want to go into big details with that yet, but we will have future episodes on that. So let's go ahead and remove it because I don't want to confuse anyone. And as you can see, we have a README file. It is best practice to always fill out the documentation on your role, so others, when they look at your role, they'll know how it's being used, what it's used for, that sort of thing. But since we're just testing this out, we're going to leave it by default for now. Okay, so with that being said, let's start with the tasks first. So let's go to the tasks directory. Okay, and then you should see a main.yaml. As you can see, it already did the 3 dashes for us. So we're just going to delete line number 2 and then start fresh. All right, so this is a role. This is not a playbook. So we don't start out with our connection, where we name the play, what host we're connected to, that sort of thing. We actually just type in the specific tasks. So in this case, name, and we'll call this add user, and we're going to use some variables here, which we have not created yet, and we will create here soon. Custom user with bash shell pending the group custom groups to the users groups. Okay, kind of a long name there, but at least we know what it does. And now we type in the module name, so ansible.builtin.user. Now again, if you don't know what this module does, you can use Ansible Navigator, Ansible-Navigator space doc, and then the name of the module to tell you what it does and what the examples are. Then we're going to do name, and we're going to do custom user. So this is the name of the Superuser account. Password, custom password. Now we haven't talked about this yet, but we're going to use a filter called password hash. And what this does is it hashes the string text. So earlier in the playbook we did that vars prompt, and so I'm typing in the password. Yeah, you don't see it on screen, but this makes sure it's hashed when it's saved, when it creates that user. So good for security. Then we'll do a comment. Admins love comments, especially on local accounts. You should always add them. And we're going to use a variable, of course, to reference most of the stuff, and we'll define those variables later on. The shell, we want our default to be bash. By default, anyone who's a rel 9, if you create a new user account, it's going to be bash. So you don't really need that line, but it's good to spell it out. Expires. Now this is a super user account, so I don't want it to expire. I think by default, depending on how you have your PAM rules, that sort of thing, the account will lock and you got to change your password. I don't want that on my Ansible account since we're in just a test lab environment. Okay, groups. Again, variable, custom groups. Append the groups, yes, and state present. Okay, that looks like we've got everything. So now we need to go define all those variables we created that started with custom and underscore. As you can see, there's quite a few. So we're going to save this. We're going to go down one level. So we're at the roles directory, parent directory, and we're going to go into the defaults folder, and then we're going to edit the main.yaml there. Delete line number 2. And this is where we start defining our variables. So first one, custom user. And we're just going to do my user. You can replace this with whatever user you're creating. Custom password is next. Now, we're going to refer to the variable that we created in the actual playbook called user password. Remember the vars prompt? That's where that is if I've lost anybody. Hopefully not. Okay. Now we need to define, I'm going to do I like to document as much as you should. I don't always do this, but I like documentation. So I'm going to leave a documentation here to let folks know, whoever sees this playbook, what it does. So for custom group, which we'll be defining here soon, this for multiple groups, use a comma delimiter. Custom groups. And we only really need to append one new group called admins. And again, we haven't created that yet, but we will when we run the playbook and it creates a user account. Okay, and oh yeah, custom comment. Super user account for Ansible. Got to make those admins happy. All right, then we're going to save. We're going to go back out now. Our role should be completed. All right, now let's just do a syntax check using Ansible Navigator on the playbook and the roles. Remember the playbook, just review that again. The playbook runs on all hosts. It should prompt us for a user password. This is the variable name right here, not an actual name description. It will prompt us and enter the value for user account password, and it will be private, meaning we will not see what we type on screen. And then it will call the role that we just created called create user add to group. So let's check. Let's Ansible Navigator run, and then create user syntax check. So 2 dashes syntax dash check. Okay, looks like we haven't made an error. Looks like on line 2, that's interesting. You'll see here where it says error gather facts. So I forgot the R in gather facts. So let's go back. This happens to everybody. Create gather facts. And that is why. All right, gather facts. Okay, let's try that again. Maybe in multiple places too where you made a problem, but from a syntax point of view, we're good. Okay, let's move on to our next playbook. We're not ready to actually run that yet. We're going to create a new playbook called Setup Superuser SSH Key .yaml. Again, we start off with 3 dashes. Then we name our play, and we're going to name this push SSH key for super user. You can name it whatever you want to. Hosts all gather facts false, and roles dash setup underscore super user SSH key. Okay, much simpler than the last one. we're going to go back to the roles directory. Going to use the ansible-galaxy command again. And set up Superuser SSH key. Okay, we're going to go into that directory and do some cleanup. We're not going to need vars, tests, meta, handlers, and files. Notice I kept templates in there. Okay. All right, let's go to tasks. We're going to edit our main.yaml. Pick out line number 2 and define our first task, which would be or will be add superuser public key. Now this is very similar to what we've done for root in the past. However, we're placing in a role instead of just a playbook. So ansible.posex.authorized_key user. Again, we're going to use a variable, custom user state present and key. Now we're going to reuse our root key. It's not best practice. You should create a specific key for your superuser account. However, since it's our lab environment, we're just trying to make things simple here. So use the same syntax, lookup plugin. And we're going to do a file. And we're going to use a variable here, custom public key, and then close off our variable. Okay, it looks good. Now we need to go define those variables. Now, this may seem a little redundant, and yeah, it is. I could place this in a different, I could place this in the inventory if I wanted to. I could also pass these variables as extra vars. However, I want the default variables to always be in there just in case. So let's go to the defaults folder. So back down 1, defaults, and go to main.yaml, delete second line, and let's start defining custom user and then custom public key. Now this is the actual location. Looks good. All right, now let's go back to our main Ansible project and let's do a syntax check on our new playbook, which is connected to the new role. Ansible Navigator run setup syntax check. All right, great. Okay, so let's go ahead and actually run our 2 playbooks. We will rerun these in future episodes. So Ansible Navigator run, and we need to create user, add to group first. Asking us for the user account password. Forgot something very important. you have to create your admins group before you can create your user group. So let's fix that. So let's go to roles. Let's go to create add user to group, tasks, and then at the very top, create group called admins. Okay, so I'm pretty sure it's called ansible.builtin.group. However, let's find out. I'm going to save this real quick. All right. Okay, sorry guys. We're going to go back out to the main parent directory here. And we are going to do Ansible Navigator doc -L. So we'll list all the modules. Much better. That's what I was looking for. Group. And there it is. Ansible.builtin.group. Add or remove groups. So we're going to quit out and we're going to do Ansible Navigator doc. And then we're going to copy and paste the module name. And then we're going to scroll down to the examples. And here's the examples. And as you can see, there's one where it actually we're listing the GID, and there's the other one here where we're just creating a group. We're just going to copy this. Quit out. Then we're going to go to the roles. We're going to do create user tasks main.yaml. And we're just going to paste this in here and then make our changes. We'll call this custom groups. Okay. Now we're back on track here. Sorry about that. Okay, so Ansible Navigator, run, create user. Hopefully this time it'll create the admins group, and then voila. Now don't worry about the depreciation warning. I mean, you should pay attention to them, of course. However, it's just a warning. Everything's still going to work. Just letting you know that, hey, something's going to go out of support here soon, and you might not be able to use it. But in the meantime, this works for us. So if this were, now that worked, let's go ahead and run our other playbook where we push the public SSH key, because I prefer that to authenticate. All right, so we're going to do Ansible Navigator, run, and then set up Superuser SSH-key.yaml. Voila. So in theory, we should be able to su mat automated. Look at that. We're in the controller. It created that user. It didn't exist. Now it does because of Ansible. And then we should be able to do SSH Ansible managed host 1. And of course say yes. Oh, that didn't work. That's wonder why. Let's go back out. Authorized key is there. Oh, I know why. Because this is my control node, I need to have the private key there as well too. I mean, you can't authenticate without the private key, right? And you only have to do this on your control node. So what we're going to do is we're going to exit out. So we're back at root. We're going to copy the root.ssh ID RSA, and we're going to put it under the home directory of matautomated.ssh tone matautomated home matautomated.ssh and ID RSA. And then we want to make sure that it should still be 600. So at this point, we should be good to go. So let's go back to matautomated. Only our third time, right? Now, SSH to Ansible manage host 1. Voila. Didn't ask us for typing in password. Very cool. So let's try 2. Yes, we accept. Bam. All right. Okay, so we had a little rocky there at the end here. However, I hope everything made sense. If you liked the video, please down below press like and subscribe. If you have any comments, please leave those. Please be nice, though. I'm working through this with you guys. If you have any suggestions for future content, please put it down below. I'll see you next time.